Built in the late 1960s, Talladega Superspeedway was built by Bill France to be the biggest, the baddest superspeedway in all of NASCAR racing and all of the land in motorsports in the United States. And sure enough, Talladega Superspeedway stands today as the biggest and the baddest superspeedway of all time. Welcome to the virtual Talladega Superspeedway this evening on Pit Stop TV. This is our continuing coverage of the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. We are here for round 32. I believe, if the math checks out. I think that's right. 32 or 31, one of the case, something like that. We are deep in the season at this point in time. We are in the playoffs. We have just 2 rounds remaining in the round of 12 before we cut this field down to 8 and then again to 4 for the championship finale. As we move into the sim, we'll take a look here at the track and, well, get accustomed with Talladega Superspeedway as per usual, as we always do with our fine racetracks here in the iRacing.com sim. Take a look here at the track map in just one moment. There we go, Talladega Superspeedway, 2.66 miles in length, and there's a look at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway's track map. Not a whole lot to speak of course, aside from the start-finish line being down closer to turn number 1, changing just about every finish in history here at Talladega. Otherwise, it's pretty cut and dry. It's Talladega Superspeedway. Nothing too crazy, nothing really jumping out at you, nothing as far as surprises go. Of course, we saw a fantastic NASCAR Cup race here earlier today. Some great racing yesterday in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And I'm sure we'll see more when we come back in 2024. Qualifying on track. Let's talk about point standings, though. A lot to talk about here since we have cut the field down to the round of 12. And we're getting to that point where some drivers are in must-win situations. Jason Jackson, Nick Barisi kind of in that spot. They don't have to win necessarily, but right now they are quite a ways out, and sure, they can use tonight to flip the script for themselves, but it's going to be tough as you look at Brandon Sheffield, Brian Traeger right on the cut line. Chris Wilhite has already won a race in this round. He is good to go. He is locked in to the round of 8. Joshua Watson, though, has some work to do, but he's pretty well good, and he's got a race and change right now to his points total. So as long as he executes here this evening, there's nothing to worry about for car number 01. Meanwhile, Justin Levine, he's pretty well safe, but not completely safe. Tonight, he's got to stay on top of things, and he should be in going into the Roval next week at Charlotte. A quick look at our schedule, of course, for the series, following that of the NASCAR Cup Series, almost to a T, not quite. Next week, it's off to the Charlotte Roval, then Las Vegas, Homestead, Miami, Martinsville, and Phoenix. Not much more to talk about there, as we've come through all of 2023. Cars on track, or will be on track momentarily, I suppose is a better way to put it, as they, well, technically yes, they are on track because they are gridded up on the front stretch at Talladega Superspeedway. Let's take a look through our starting order, beginning with car number 7. He's already locked in, and he's gonna go out and sit on pole this evening at Talladega, the biggest wild card of the entire round. Car number 7, the fastest of the bunch. Luke Doran will start from the 2nd spot. Lawrence Shaughnessy will roll off from the 3rd position. Starting 4th, how about Adrian Watts? He could use a win tonight. Let's see what he can do in the number 08 car. Starting from the 5th position, how about car number 01, Joshua Watson? Pretty well safe, but has to keep getting those points to his total. He'll start alongside Brian Traeger. Starting from the 7th and 8th positions, Derek Whitford, Jason Jackson. Whitford, I believe, also check points. I think he's out of the playoffs. We'll recap that in a moment, but Jason Jackson really needs to get a lot of points tonight, if not win. Same for Nick Barisi. Andrew Reesbaum, not part of the playoffs. Then you get back to David Shively, Brian Watson. The 04 of Watson, boy, he was so close to making the playoffs, couldn't quite do it. He's got no worries left in his season. Brandon Sheffield there in the 96. Justin Levine starting from almost the rear of the field, 14th spot, as he's in search of some points to solidify himself in the round of 8. Meanwhile, Brandon Masiewski, Richard Elliott towards the back end of the field, along with Matthew Kleinschmidt, there we go, who was eliminated after Bristol a couple of weeks ago. Austin Derbyshire picking up the back end of the field alongside his teammate, and headed down the backstretch. our field of 18 cars this evening, ready to go racing. A quick look at weather conditions, top of your screen. 88.8 degrees in the air, 107 on track, and we are smack dab in the middle of the afternoon here at Talladega. How about a look at your Whiplash SimCam's race details? It's an 85-lap race with a 45-lap stage, 85% fuel load, 3 change sets of tires, and up to 3 green-white checkers. Now, the 85-lap race part, I think, is the most important of this. Just like at Daytona for the regular season finale, we are racing just that little bit extra, a little bit longer than you might expect of 80 laps. Of course, at Daytona, 80 laps would be 200 miles. That seems like that's kind of a reasonable distance to go for a truck race or what have you kind of length. That 5 laps extra kind of changes things up, especially with the fuel strategy here as we are going longer laps at Talladega Superspeedway. Let's get ready. Let's buckle in. Race number 31 coming at you this evening into nearly the restart zone. It's going to be a long trip down through the tri-oval. And Chris Wilhite will lead us to the green at Talladega Superspeedway. Green flag at around 31. Down the Alabama Gang super stretch at Talladega Superspeedway, all nicely in order. Everybody bunched up, parade laps at 200 miles per hour down to turn number 3. Now it looks like some guys are getting restless, move around a little bit in turns 3 and 4 as the 08 of Adrian Watts was moving around to the back end of Luke Doran just a little bit. Still though, 2 lines very well formed up as Shaughnessy is going to send Wilhite way in front of the field and come around to lead lap number 1 does Chris Wilhite in car number 7. He's already got this field covered in the fact that he is the first driver to move himself into the round of 8. Meanwhile, big move from Joshua Watson. Straight to the top side, he jumps up ahead of the 44 car, actually brings Whitford with him, and Watson is going to surge ahead to the race lead. On board with Watson as he has surged well ahead of the field. Big push from Whitford into turn 3, and here we go, 3 wide now. Not the largest of fields. You go back to Atlanta, we had the same kind of conundrum, if you will. Daytona, we had a larger field. Atlanta was about this size. Talladega this evening, about this same size, of course. And these guys are going to get top line dominant for sure. Chris Wilhite falling back. He's got the help of Shaughnessy still. The 0-2 of Richard Elliott pulls up. On the inside, you've got Barisi with just the help of Shively and Sheffield. Yashieski kind of hanging back, waiting for his turn. And in the middle, how about Matthew Kleinschmidt? This is what it looks like in the middle of the pack at Daytona or Talladega. When you get 3 wide like this, it gets to be a bit of a log jam. And amazingly right now, there's a pretty wide open hole for Kleinschmidt to go a few cars up, but as he blinks out in the middle of the field, that is not what you want. There's the field. There we go, and Kleinschmidt's back. Now he's gone, crashing Derbyshire. Griesbaum going to check up. Caution, lap number 3. Not entirely sure how that one happened, but Derbyshire slow. Brian Watson also slow, and that is a broken toe link for car number 04. Andrew Griesbaum also involved, although he really did a good job of checking up. I don't think he has any damage. Same for Kleinschmidt. Derbyshire's definitely got some damage, and Watson does not look happy. I'll look back at what happened here on the front stretch at Talladega. Up top, watch the 64, got moved out of line. I think that was the 86 of Jason Jackson that was involved in all of that. He got moving around in a hurry out of turn 4. From the tower, watch the 86 up top, the orange car. He's going to hit the outside wall. Derbyshire checks up in response and gets a tag there from the 04 of Watson, and that sends the 64 a bit squirrely. Watson, though, going to take the brunt of it. Still a lot of damage to Derbyshire's car. The right rear, it looks like, mostly damaged on his number 64 Ford Mustang. One more look here from the back end of Derbyshire. He gets hit and just kind of gets turned around. And caution number 1 comes in a hurry. How about the view from Grease Bomb back here? Everything unfolding right in front of him. He got a... Wow, he got right on the brakes. I mean, really good job there from Grease Bomb to slow down, check up, and not be a part of this caution. Then you've got Watson trying to figure out his car as he's got all this damage. Whoa! Good avoidance there from the 78. Most of the field pits here during caution number 1, including your race leader at the time of yellow, Joshua Watson. He comes in for service. Just 5.7 seconds in the pit lane. Adrian Watt's going to join him, his teammate. Justin Levine, though, also taking service. Traeger, Elliott, others pitting. Barisi, Sheffield, Jackson, Grease Bomb. Then the ones you would certainly expect. Derbyshire, Watson, and Kleinschmidt. Well, Kleinschmidt not so much, but it looks like he's trying to work out his internet connectivity issues, as there is a look at the number 04, oh so wounded. Austin Derbyshire, meanwhile, works back onto the racetrack, and there's a look at Matthew Kleinschmidt. Not sure what's going on for the number 59 this evening, but he has been in the pit lane for nearly 90 seconds at this point. Race leader going to be Derek Whitford now, and I mentioned I'd have to review points. Whitford did not advance from Bristol into the round of 12, so he's racing really for his own at this point. Sheffield and Traeger are that cut line battle coming in, separated by just 1 point. Lawrence Shaughnessy has got to get some big points this evening. Watch out for car 9, who does stay out under this yellow to keep track position. I'm sure he's going to be a bit aggressive. Mashayevsky has got a bit of a cushion, 9 points to that cut line. Now Traeger under this yellow is going to pit. Sheffield will as well. So both of these guys kind of putting themselves back in the field, getting fuel in their cars, setting up for the long run, I think, to the end of the race. They're not so worried about this stage. They want to make sure they're set up for the race as a whole, keep as much fuel in the car as possible. And the end of stage 1 will come at the completion of lap 45. Of course, we'll race through that stage end, as opposed to what NASCAR does on ovals, where they halt the race, have a caution flag. This more like the road course procedure for most of this season, where we keep on racing through. There's a look at Sheffield, back in the 13th spot. And again, that's your cut line battle, separated by just 1 marker in the standings. As the field paces around and gets ready to go back, green flag racing at Talladega Superspeedway. Stand by. We have got a message from one of our partners, the Buttkicker, if you will, as we get ready to go back green flag racing. back towards the Geico restart zone, ready to go racing once more. The full field of now 17 cars. One car missing, it's Brian Watson. Led back to the green here by Derek Whitford. Green flag late in the restart zone. We're back racing at Talladega. Down the back stretch, that top line getting well formed up. Big shoves coming from Doran and Shaughnessy. One car goes up high, that was Levine. Another car goes up high, that's Watson. Whitford going backwards in a hurry, that's the red car inside. Ahead of the other red car with the white accents to it and the black numbers, that's Shively in the 85 car. Up top, here comes a run from Justin Levine, trying to poke down to the inside and make something out of the 6th or 7th position. Shively, big shift up the racetrack, and one lap is complete from the restart. There's Levine right on the back end of Nick Barisi. He's going to bring Elliott down the racetrack with him, and they fight to the inside now. Sheffield just ahead, and there we go, staggering up ahead. We've got now a middle line forming, even though it's the inside most line, if you will. That's Watson down low with the help of, it looks like Watts leading him. Makes sense. Teammates working together. Now way down to the bottom through the corners. And the top side losing all momentum. Boy, you can really get some energy going in a hurry. The top side's just scrambling. That's the word. Like some eggs. Scrambling to get their momentum back. They lost it all through the corner. That was really odd. And you can see just how much of an effect that's had. The 08 and the 01, they got linked up and they have taken off. Look at how far ahead they are of the rest of the field. Justin Levine, the next one behind them, a half second of separation in just about a half a lap. If even that long. And now Watson backs off. They have to check up, get some air back to the nose of the 01 car. And here we go. So we're seeing some tandem racing, it looks like, already. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of packing, but mostly you can get a tandem rolling pretty quick. You can link up, drive away from the field, and then you can come right back to them. Like when NASCAR made the radiator inlets that much smaller in the tandem drafting era. Very reminiscent of that this evening. Levine comes up to block the top side. Traeger gets in behind him. Wilhite did not want to check up, but he did. And Traeger goes purple that lap. Fastest on the racetrack on lap number 9. On board, Brian Traeger running in the 4th position. Just taking a good look at the back end of the 33 car, inspecting it for bumps and scrapes. Side by side again. Looking like 200-mile-per-hour parade laps. Perfectly side-by-side out front. Now Levine gets a good run out of the corner with the help of the 6 car. Brian Traeger needs some points. Let's see if he can do it here in stage number 1. 35 laps to go in this stage. He pushes the 33 car out front. Now these guys will still have to pit in this first stage. You get about 38 laps to a full tank. These guys are running 85% of a full tank. Even the drivers that pitted under that yellow will have to pit one more time. And Levine getting shuffled to the middle of the racetrack. He's got no help. And the 33 car is going to drop like a rock. Absolutely nobody helping the 33 of Levine. He's going all the way back. As our leader started to mix it up one more time. Watson back up to the top of the racetrack. They jump up in front of their teammate Elliott. Now Sheffield goes down low, and we've got cars scattering. One car blinking a bunch. No caution yet. Traeger way on the inside through the grass. He comes back onto the racetrack, and no caution. Something drastic just happened with Sheffield, and this pack has entirely been separated here on lap number 12. A replay certainly in order of whatever just happened on the front stretch. That was confusing, to say the least. You got 3 wide. Levine was in the middle. Watch Sheffield in the green and silver, number 96. As these guys come around turn 4, he's moving up in front of Brian Traeger. Traeger gives him a shot, and Sheffield was blinking out of the race, and that shoved the 6 car into the grass. You can see just how much Sheffield was suddenly blinking. I think he tried to bail out of that move as soon as he pulled up in front of Traeger and saw his internet quality plummet, but it was already too late. This was down the back stretch. See Levine get shuffled out. And Brad Ward, I mean, this is just such a terrible spot to be in. He was just leading the race. And contact there at the 66 after the block from the blinking number 68? 96, there we go, for Brandon Sheffield. Such a specific scenario that had to play out, as Sheffield, it looks like, is still having blinking issues. But Brian Traeger continues on. That said, he has dropped all the way down here. He is 17th spot, 8 seconds behind the next car ahead, which is Kleinschmidt. And just as I mentioned that he was going to need some points here in stage 1, unless he gets a caution flag, all hopes of stage points are out the window. He'll likely be at least 1, if not 2 laps down by the end of this stage. Meanwhile, here's your lead group, side by side, 8 cars strong. Go back to Daytona. I was very critical of this kind of racing side by side when you simply didn't have to be. This is going to slow you down usually. Unless they've found something where they feel like they're faster side by side, this usually slows you down and pulls you back to other groups, as Derbyshire's got a problem. The 64 way low. And he gets it sorted out, but he's still off pace. Getting pushed by his teammate here, Justin Levine, as they come around the front stretch. Watch what happens. Cars 64 and 33 linked up. Sheffield just behind, blinking still. But they get away from that 96 car, and then here at a turn 4, Derbyshire just gets hooked left by the 33 of Levine and scrambles back up onto the racetrack. The tail end of that line thought he was going to come up and hit him. Thankfully, there was no contact after the fact. He's going to end up dropping back now. And if he's smart, he just might drop back to Brian Traeger and try to link up with the number 6 car. That way they can both stay on this lead lap. Adrian Watts leading the top side here at Talladega Superspeedway, lap 16 underway of 85. Remember, this stage is going to complete at the end of 45 laps, so still plenty of time for these guys to go. As they race at a turn number 3, look at that line up top. That's not something we're used to seeing on iRacing. In fact, our camera is moved down the racetrack specifically for that reason. Top line trains like this are not common in iRacing. They become more common, I will say. But even so, this is still a very, very new thing for us on the sim. It used to be bottom line just like this, and I think we're seeing that now form up for these guys. They've moved down to the inside and seem to have more trust in it. You're riding on board currently with the number 78. He is kind of stepping back every once in a while, really giving himself space. And Griesbaum, not exactly a season to write home about, but he's been here for just about the entire season. Certainly would have liked to have things go a bit of a different way. But when it's all said and done, hey, he was still here for most of the season, still ran good races, and is in contention towards the back end of the season for wins here at Talladega. being his best opportunity. I'm sure just about anybody's best opportunity. Up front, Adrian Watts leading the show, and look at how close these two are, literally making contact around the racetrack. Here's another shove. This from the perspective of Adrian Watts, looking back at his teammate, Joshua Watson, who is in an interesting predicament. He's got so many points to his name, but despite seeming like he was maybe a little bit stronger through some of the regular season, it really looks like Chris Wilhite has come into his own lately, and Watson has not been as good. This number 01 car needing to pick things up if he wants to win this championship. He's still got time, sure, but definitely going to want to pick things up in the 01 car, make sure he's at tip-top performance, if you will. Back to the point standings. This is what I'm talking about. Watson, he's pretty well good to go. All he has to do is stay up front here in stage 1, and I think he might actually lock himself in just about. You could almost consider him locked in now. He's got so many points to his name. Meanwhile, everybody else has to race their way in at this point. Justin Levine is one of them. Levine back in the 9th position. We've been talking about this a little bit. Doesn't really have to panic at all. Doesn't have to run super crazy. Just needs to have a good night here at Talladega and not get crashed, realistically. And so far, that's going pretty decently. But I'm sure would really like to, I don't know, be in that front group. And this is where I get curious. I know a lot of you guys watching are probably in the race, but you know, if you can get down to text chat, and if you can talk about this race, at this point in time, everybody gets spread out, linked up like this. What is your goal? What are you trying to do? Because now we see Sheffield and Jackson kind of backing up a little bit, trying to get a run maybe, kind of testing the waters to see if they can surge past the 33 car maybe. It looked like it with how far Sheffield laid back, but now they pull right back in behind that 33 car. My thought would be you want to get in line and just run as fast as you can. You don't want to do anything crazy. Simply try to run as fast as you can until the end of the stage. Especially if you're the second group and you're not going to be able to catch the leaders. With a blinking car in the second spot of this group, I don't think that's going to help you at all. And there you go. Sheffield going to pull out and drop to the back end of this line. It looks like the 96 car. That was kind of a little bit overdue, I feel like. But he's playing nice with that internet connection issue. And again, he's somebody to keep in mind. Sheffield trying to get above that cut line. Right now, he would certainly have points over Traeger if the race were to end now. Problem is, the race is not ending now, and he would only be getting 2 points over that number 6 car. Make it now 3. No, still 2. And up front, not a thing has changed. This is what we call chess at, let's see, 190 miles per hour. You've got 2 separate sects of the will, if you will, rather, of the Ryko team. It really seems like those guys have been the best all season long. Anybody with a Ryko setup has dominated this series. You've got 2 different groupings here of Ryko drivers. You've got JBR Esports and Highside Esports, or Motorsports, I believe. And JBR Esports is going to include the guys like Adrian Watts, Joshua Watson, Richard Elliott, the top 3 in this race. Everybody else, not everybody else, but the next 3 right behind them, Wilhite, Doran, Shaughnessy. I believe those guys are over at Highside. They have their own agenda. So while those 6 are all on Ryko setups and leading this race, this is going to become very much a chess match. When do you go? Do you want to go? You want to just wait here in stage number 1 as they pull up on a lapped car. That is Brian Traeger. I mentioned he would go at least 1 lap down. The driver out of New York has no real option. There go the race leaders, but he will stay down low. That's a good thing for the 6 car in a lot of ways. First of all, it's most predictable for the leaders. Yes, they have to move, but it is most predictable to stay down low, stay on the racing line. And there is a saying in ARCA racing and in sports car racing, slow goes low. That does mix up the back end of this group. Mashievsky and Griesbaum now an extra car back from the leaders as Traeger puts himself in line. But this is exactly why this was also very helpful to the 6 car. He just got himself in line with these guys. He's not going to lose that second lap if he can stay with them. He's going to, of course, try to pit with their cycle and not get separated now. If Derbyshire is not able to link up, this keeps Traeger in the lucky dog spot because as it stands, if we get a caution, well, I shouldn't say as it stands. If Derbyshire gets lapped, is able to be ahead of the 6 car, and we get a caution, of course, that would keep Brian Traeger from getting the lucky dog. And already, Derbyshire about to be lapped. Not much difference at this point between the 64 and 6 cars. Here comes the field. This time at a turn 2, they're going to have to go high. And Derbyshire will stay low. This is significantly easier pass for the field. And you'll see Derbyshire have to give up all this track position. He's going to go all the way to the back end of this group. It looks like sans maybe Griesbaum. Mashievsky up top might have to settle as well. Interesting. Griesbaum kind of pulled up to the back end of Mashievsky. Was considering helping him, it looked like, but Derbyshire gets linked up right behind Brian Traeger, and these two will get to race for the lucky dog position. There is one other car off pace, and that is Brandon Sheffield, who currently runs through the tri-oval. He is just 21 seconds behind the leaders. Stands a bit of a chance to not go one lap down. I do like that sound. A NASCAR engine just humming along. 8,200, 8,300 RPMs. As Duran kind of manages the draft on board with Luke currently in the 5 car. He's in an interesting spot in the standings. Duran comes in with a decent amount of points, but not too many to his cushion. Certainly in a good spot, but could use more, and certainly will try to get more here in stage number 1. Pretty much anything he does to earn points, though, will significantly help his championship hopes, and that 5 car should be able to hold on to his own destiny here in the round of 12. So all he's got to do is keep doing what he's doing in that number 5. And Luke Doran should have a nice and easy road into the round of 8. Of course, we've pretty well in-depth covered that lead pack, but the second group has changed up a little bit. Levine has lost the top position in this group to Jason Jackson. So Jackson, being a little bit aggressive, does not want to be the second car in line, wants to be the first car in line. Feels like he can lead a little better. Behind him, you've got Levine, you've got Shively, Barisi, and Whitford. And these guys now have fewer cars in this group than the leaders. And I'm not sure if that is a good or bad thing, but these guys are hanging right at 5 seconds behind the leader. That is 4.2 behind Andrew Griesbaum, as the top 8 are all within 0.8 of one another, maybe a second of one another, as Griesbaum falls back a little bit into turn number 1. This time by will have 15 laps to go in stage 1, and we know these guys should have to pit again. By every form of my math, they are due back in the pit lane sometime between now and lap 40. The drivers who haven't pitted yet, they'll be due back sooner. Now, the top driver yet to pit is the number 7 of Chris Wilhite. Has not pitted yet in this race on the same tires and fuel that he started the race with. Same with his teammates Luke Doran and Lawrence Shaughnessy. It's been a long day, guys. Brandon Mashayevsky also has not pitted just yet as he runs back in the 7th position. But he's a couple of cars back from those guys, those Ryko guys that haven't pitted. Let's see if they can link up in the pit lane and stay together. I would imagine that the guys who have to pit will come in before the guys that don't have to pit. The guys that don't have to pit just yet, they're going to try to run longer and see if they can wait out for a caution. Of course, they still have to pit at some point. But the way these guys are now kind of separating, I think pit stops are coming soon. Maybe not this lap, but very, very soon we're going to see some of these leaders start to head to the inside of the racetrack. Now, the first couple of cars, and the only couple of cars actually in this second group that have to pit early, will be David Shively and Derek Whitford. The 85 and 44 stayed out under our previous yellow and are much less well equipped to go deep in stage number 1 in case we get a caution. Whoa, Adrian Watts on the outside. Joshua Watson just lets him back in line as Derbyshire is making a move back here. He was nearly to the inside of Traeger, getting racy for this lucky dog position. And this could be the best fight we have on the racetrack for the next 10 laps. Traeger that time across the line, kind of staggering out to the outside, getting some clean air. Some cool air, more importantly. If he's been tucked up underneath the 9 car for too long, he can absolutely start to overheat as Elliott pokes out of turn 2. While stage 1 begins to come to a close and we await the leaders in the pit lane, we're gonna go Pit Stop TV side by side just one more time in stage number 1 and rejoin you for pit stops and more towards the back end of this first stage. We've got 12 laps to go in stage 1. Pit stops are looming. Back on lap 37 of 85, we've seen some pit stops take place now in stage number 1. David Shively, Derek Whitford came in last lap and took service, 4 tires and fuel for the 85 and 44 cars, as you would expect. Now we await our leaders down the pit lane, who have stretched this run out just a little ways. Will Height, Doran, Shaughnessy, and even Mashayevsky doing a great job of stretching their fuel, but it's going to have to come to an end, I think, on this lap as they race around turns 3 and 4. Pit stops coming, everybody out front going to come on down to the pit lane except for Derbyshire. I don't understand that. 3-4 wide into the pits. Wow. And they're not alone. Actually, they are alone. Jackson, Levine, Barisi, Kleinschmidt, they're all going to keep on going as, I thought they were going to make contact before they got into their boxes. That was closed between Wilhay and others. And Shaughnessy and Watts both go straight through their boxes. Shaughnessy especially. Watts takes an audible, going to take 2 left sides, and it looks like no rights. Take fuel and get back out there. 4 tires for Doran, 4 tires for Wilhite, 4 tires for the 01 of Watson. Watts still took a while. He now heads out, nearly contact there with Sheffield, who's lapped. And here comes everybody else down to the pit lane. Jackson. Derbyshire comes in with this group. I see. He was getting linked up with Levine. You've also got Barisi in this pack. And it looks like Kleinschmidt as well. There's Jackson. And it's worth mentioning, these guys had driven back to within 2 seconds of the race leaders. So Jason Jackson was doing a fantastic job leading that line. And quite frankly, he should be the one to lead it again when they head back out there. Looks like Levine taking a much shorter stop. Derbyshire tries to do the same. Where are our leaders? Joshua Watson leading them around the tri-oval now. And they should go right on by Justin Levine and company. There's Kleinschmidt, there's Derbyshire, there's Jackson, there's Barisi. Next up, Justin Levine, and these guys have retaken the race lead. Joshua Watson out front, but he has no teammates directly behind him. His teammates, the 02 and 08, way further back in this group of cars, getting back onto the racetrack and mixing in with drivers that are just coming back on the racetrack, actually, as the 33 car gets passed up. And Shaughnessy's in a weird spot. Elliott must have missed his box as well. Sheffield's now with them. Shaughnessy really needs more points than this. He'd be getting just 3 points in the stage. He's 12 points behind the cut line. Somebody who's been in the conversation for every single race, it feels like, that we've covered here in the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. There we go. I always kind of take a syllable out. The Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. There we go. Shaughnessy really needs points. He's got 6 laps to go. He's running in 8th. He needs more than this. He cannot settle for this. But he's got 2 rival teammates just in front of him, and that's this group, aside from the lap car of Sheffield right behind, as you see how disorganized everybody else is. Levine on his own. He'll be caught up here by Barisi and Jackson shortly. Then Shively is coming up on a slow Austin Derbyshire. Now, Brian Traeger is the one lapped car here who really executed really nicely. He stayed up there with the leaders. His problems for Levine. He gets passed up. But you got to be proud of the 6 car of Traeger here. He did everything absolutely right at the stop. He is still with your lead pack. And he'll be able, if we get a caution, to get the lucky dog. Everybody else that goes 1 lap down, so Sheffield and Derbyshire currently would have to take the wave around. Four laps to go in stage 1. This time by, you see your top 5 cars in a line. 6th is about a 1.5 seconds back. That's Richard Elliott. Then he's got Adrian Watson, Laura Shaughnessy. For the 9th and 10th positions, this is your fight. Jackson to the top side of the racetrack on the outside of his teammate. That is Nick Barisi getting passed up. How do they want to play this with Justin Levine? They certainly don't want that 33 car to get a point. Barisi is still... Actually, I think Barisi might be out. No, Barisi's still in. Jackson's still in. These guys are both must-win, I would say, tonight. They have got to get themselves in victory lane. And only one of them can do it. Up front, status quo for the race leaders. Single file, bottom side of the racetrack, just holding themselves in line. Your top 5 of the lap car at the back end. And hey, this is a big opportunity for Greasebomb to just make some noise. The points aren't so much the concern for the 78 car, but he would like to go out with a bang this season, I'm sure, and he's got a great opportunity here if he can find just the right run at just the right time to try and win stage number 1, where these guys will keep on racing. Now, we saw those guys go about 35 laps, we'll say. 35 laps on that tank. Some more, some less, depending on if they saved fuel or not. So we'll just say 35 laps to a tank. These guys will pit with 40 to go. They still have a pit stop to make at the very least. And the conundrum we're in there is if these guys had stage brakes, they would be right on the edge of the fuel window once the caution laps are completed. As now Elliott gets sorted out. He falls back behind Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy now just needs to go by one car, and that is the 08 of Adrian Watts. We're going to have one lap to go in stage number 1, this time by the flag stand. You see Will Height starting to give some space out ahead to that number 01 car. He's starting to plan his route of action. But he stays tucked up underneath that Chevrolet for now, pushing Joshua Watson around this 2.66 mile speedway. One lap to go in stage 1. These guys will keep racing through the stage, but this is for a quarter of the marbles. 10 marbles, if you will. And there goes Will Height to the top side of the racetrack. He's going to bring help. That is Doran just behind. Now Mashayevsky. Watson leaves the bottom. He's trying to side draft. Griesbaum is going to pull up to that 01 car. They get back in line. Griesbaum down low. Traeger stays up top with the 01 car. Perfect choreography, though, from the 7 and the 5. Mashayevsky went with and made it that much more potent. But as these guys come around to complete stage 1, how about Lawrence Shaughnessy, Adrian Watts? They're racing. Shaughnessy to the inside, Watts outside, and Chris Wilhite will come around and win stage 1 at Talladega Superspeedway. That is 1 extra point to his total going into the playoffs. That was an important spot to get. Might have just said into the playoffs, into the next round of the playoffs, I should say, going into the round of 8. That is an extra point for the number 7 car. Try and cruise away to race for a championship at Phoenix. And you can see a lot is going on behind these guys. They just finalized who's getting stage points or not, and I believe it was close to this order. Jason Jackson would know a little better. Shaughnessy back here with Elliott and Watts was just moving around in line. Saw that black and blue machine kind of poking around in the air, looking for some way to get around. I say looking. I'm sure he's not really looking that hard. These guys know the game. They've got to just sit in and ride for the time being. They did their fun to get the stage points they wanted, they needed, whatever. It's a very cut and dry race from here. Not being packed up like this, there's such a low risk of a caution coming out. It's not impossible. I'll say that much. It's very possible still that we get a caution or two in this race. We still got groups like these guys who are racing for their dear lives, especially in the case of Derek Whitford, who needs all the points he can get in the playoffs. Of course, he wants to advance past the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval next week and go on to continue racing in these playoffs as we head out to racetracks like Las Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville. And how about the fact that Watson is now the last car in line in this lead group? He was leading them for some time, but he's got no help up here. Not Traeger, not Griesbaum, not Mashayevsky, not Doran, and not Chris Wilhite. No help for the 01 car. That means, though, if I'm Joshua Watson, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to throttle back. Might even put the clutch in sometimes. Not for very long, but just long enough to slow the motor down, save some fuel. If you can limit how much time you spend in the pit box taking fuel under your next stop, since it looks like it'll be under green, you can get back on the racetrack that much quicker. And if Watson is able to get, I don't know, a half second, or do whatever he can to just limit how much fuel he has to take, that could be a big deal and get him out ahead of guys like Chris Wilhite, Luke Doran, and others in this lead group, Mashayevsky. And if Traeger is perfect on his pit stop game, who knows? Maybe Traeger plays blocker for him and is that kind of separation he needs. Matthew Kleinschmidt working on going one lap down. He is into the tri-oval this time. Lap 50 will be completed by the leaders in just a moment, and that is the short gap between the 59 and the 7. And Kleinschmidt will go up the racetrack in preparation for the leaders to go on by. It's been a rough day at the office for several drivers. And if we stay green like this, it's going to be that much more rough. Only one caution so far for 2 laps. 10 lead changes, though. These guys mixed it around up front. And there go the race leaders. Such a cool view from the left side of these cars. Really enjoy that camera. Inside of 35 laps to go, in fact 34 this time by the start-finish line. That is a fuel run, so open up that pit window, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to pit early? Do you want to pit late? I think certainly there's 2 different ways you can look at it. If you go for a full tank right here, fill the car up as much as you can. That'll be just about exact. You're only going to be able to fill up to a certain point right now. You'll head back out there, a full tank of fuel, the most precise math, though, that you can do. That said, you'll then have no fuel in case of a green-white checker. Is that such a bad thing, though? Especially if you're in a secure spot in the standings, if you don't have to worry too much, if you're a Joshua Watson, a Chris Wilhite, would that be too bad? I don't think so. Even Luke Doran, in case of a green-white checkered, you'd be able to sit back and get good runs. That said, track position still is king of all. Certainly options for these drivers to weigh as we get into the back stages of this race. We've got a lot going on at Pit Stop TV usually, but this week things will be a little more quiet as this is the one broadcast we have for this. Well, sorry, this is one of 2 broadcasts we have this week. The next one tomorrow, when we head out to Silverstone Circuit with the SimLab Production Car Challenge brought to you by Barber Ford. That is the lone broadcast we have for Monday through Sunday, October 8th. Then October 9th, we're back at it at Spa-Francorchamps with the same SimLab Production Car Challenge vehicles, the Ford Mustang FR500S, the Renault Clio, the Toyota GR86 Cup car, and of course, the Global Mazda MX-5 Cup car. Finally then, once we get that first round of action, not the first round, the fifth round of action in at Spa, there we go. We will go racing at Richmond Raceway with the UFL Elite Series beginning their playoffs. Meanwhile, pit stops underway. Jason Jackson, Nick Barisi, Justin Levine, they are taking this opportunity to go ahead and come on down to the pit lane. And as I mentioned, get the fuel math perfectly right here. Of course, there is no auto fuel that you can do on iRacing, but that seems to be a little bit buggy still. These guys are making it cut and dry. They're pitting now so they can just run to the end. They've got their game sorted out. Oh, but it really looks like they're throttling back. Barisi's going so much faster. They're hemorrhaging time, and here come the leaders. They're going to go one lap down for sure. Wilhite is going to be full throttle, and he wants to get to those guys and put them one lap down. That would only be helping their case, especially since Justin Levine is back in this group, and he's a legitimate threat for the championship. He's third right now in our playoff standings. If they can put Levine a lap down, and if he's got to race two rival teammates for the lucky dog spot, this is a perfect scenario for Wilhite and Watson and everybody else under that Ryko camp, even if they're competing teammates. This really helps them. If in case we get a caution, this is really going to hurt the 33 car. I think this would have been a better move if they were closer to the leaders. I'm glad somebody did it, though. Inside of 30 laps to go. And we've got ourselves a pack out front. Lap cars inside. Watson drops down with them. And Joshua Watson up to third. Joshua Watson racing for second. He's got his nose ahead there across the line. Poking it a second for the moment. But now not. There we go. Now second and now leading. Joshua Watson. Watch that white, black, and pink car. He is your race leader. He's got 3 lapped cars ahead that he can save fuel off of. This is a great situation. Maybe not. Justin Levine pokes up high. What are we doing here? Barisi, I think he lifted. That was unexpected from the leaders. Wow, that took my breath away. Wilhite up top. He's going to go by. Or at least try to, with the help of Doran and Mashayevsky. And a tandem out front now between the 86 and the 33. How much longer is this going to last? With a move like that on the backstretch, yeah, Levine's sitting back. He's going to try to get a run. Watch this 33 car backstretch. He's trying to get a run here at the 86. Going to peak up high. No. He gave a shove there to Jackson. I'm surprised by that. I really thought he was going to try to take it middle and go on by the 86 car. I want to go back and get a look at what happened a lap ago. It was so close between these guys. I thought they were going to crash. Here we go. This is a lap ago. Watch the 33 of Justin Levine. Second in line, bottom side. Mostly black car. They all just get jumbled up. Levine gets out of line, and then, wow! Barisi lifted way off the gas, and Watson was not ready for that. Another look at things here. Watch the 0-1 here of Watson. When they get checked up, Barisi drops anchor, and Watson nearly gets hooked up. That was nearly terrible. For Watson, Wilhite, Doran, and Mashayevsky, that would have been 4 of the 5 leaders wiped out in one accident, as now Andrew Griesbaum has got problems. He is down to the 8th position in a rapid descent down through the field. He was just with our race leaders. What happened here? Did he just throttle back and drop out of the lead pack, maybe? I'm confused. I think he just throttled back and willingly dropped out of the lead group just to sit back here. He must be expecting a crash from these guys, and I can't blame him. We've got 26 coming to 25 to go. 4 lapped cars in this group of 7 cars. Sorry, 8 cars. So half of this group is lapped. Half of this group is on the lead lap. What could go wrong? Everything looking okay for now. And this is right back where these guys kind of get into a groove. They're going to ride around a little bit, but as soon as something entices somebody to make a move, it's going to get hectic all over again. Now, they do have a healthy gap back to the next group of cars. Lawrence Shaughnessy, 9 seconds behind these guys. And that's not something you can just erase. You might be able to go a little bit faster, kind of chip into it. But there's no way Shaughnessy just erases that deficit to these guys. And even in this group, you're starting to see a bit of a divide. You know, Traeger's sitting back a little ways from Watson right now. Watson's trying to keep up with Barisi and these guys leading the pack. And look at that separation. If that keeps growing, we just saw Griesbaum lose the draft, I think, willingly. Maybe it wasn't willingly. Maybe he got in a spot where his car couldn't keep up anymore. As here we go, pit stops from that group further back. Shaughnessy coming in. Maybe these guys are trying to short fill. I'm not sure why they're pinning in the middle of the run, but they must have some kind of method of their madness. Shaughnessy, Watts, Griesbaum, and Elliott all coming in here. Left sides for Watts, no tires for Shaughnessy. Didn't quite see how many tires went on the 78 car of Griesbaum, but he gets back out there. And Richard Elliott, way behind these guys, I think is going to lose their draft. He's 1.5 seconds back of them. Shaughnessy, though, the way this could work out, I think Shaughnessy might get passed up by Griesbaum and by Watts. And that actually might help Richard Elliott. For Elliott, here come the race leaders. This lead group led by Jason Jackson, who is trying to stay on the lead lap. Technically, he's not lapped yet. Neither is Levine. Neither is Barisi, as Elliott now goes 1 lap down, and that's going to put the 7, the 5, the 93 up top for a little bit longer and create more of a gap, more of a divide here. How are they going to play this? They get in line, and they've still got plenty of draft, but there are cars just up the road. Adrian Watts, Lawrence Shaughnessy, and Andrew Griesbaum, they are in line. And they are going to be going 1 lap down here in just a moment. That is going to leave just 4 cars on the lead lap. I say that, it'll technically be more, but realistically, 4 cars on the lead lap as we've got some moving around. Barisi on the back end of Levine was very much staggered down the backstretch like he was trying to find a way by. And now Shaughnessy goes up top with Watts. They're going to go by Griesbaum. You don't want to be too wide when the leaders get to you guys, and they get back in line down low. That was really clutch to get back in line, but they should not have been staggered like that for as long as they were. As now, you know what? They're racing with 3, 4 of the 5 of these guys, 6 of these guys. I feel like this is going to be one weird looking pack. Watson, still your race leader, as he runs as the 4th car in line, drops down in front of Shaughnessy. Traeger gets hung out. And for the first time in several laps now, Traeger is not the top car 1 lap down. That's going to be Lawrence Shaughnessy. These guys equally need this. Let's go back to the point standings. They sit on either side of this points gap, of this cut line. Traeger 1 point in, Shaughnessy 12 points out. Sheffield, he is way behind this group. He's racing with Kleinschmidt. In fact, 21 seconds, 22 seconds behind this group is the 96 car, and 1 lap down. So Sheffield not having a good day. He's going to have to rely on the Roval next week if he wants to move on. Meanwhile, Barisi and Jackson, they're so far out of this thing, they're just trying to hang on by any measures they can. That's why they're still leading this line, leading this group, and they need to keep doing so as we hit 20 laps to go at Talladega. Shaughnessy, meanwhile, that's a big move out of the 9 car. He needs everything he can get. He's 12 points out. He has a chance to point his way in as he pulls up in front of his teammate Chris Wilhite. But it would be a whole lot easier if he just got a win and moved Traeger out. Traeger, I feel like, with that win at Kansas earlier this season in the playoffs, is absolutely somebody to consider a long shot, a dark horse threat for these playoffs, this championship. Watch the 6 car. He's been oh so consistent. And he could really play spoiler as here we go. A lapped car going to be lapped once again. Derbyshire already 2 laps down. Going to make it 3 this time as Watson nearly had to move to the inside of Barisi. These guys are getting more and more out of line as the laps go on. And now we've got ourselves a Ford topside. Shaughnessy, Wilhite, Dorian, 3 teammates over at Highside Motorsports. They're going to bring along the 93 of Brandon Mashayevsky. And we've got ourselves a race. Wilhite back in front of Watson for the race lead. He's going to try to bring Dorian here. But Watson going to power back through following the number 66 of Barisi. Wilhite leads that lap. Love these blimp views at super speedways like this, where you can kind of look top down, almost like some of the Indy NASCAR drafting games. If you know what I'm talking about. Mini clip those days. Oh, Barisi, that was scary. Watts got to the back end of the 6 car of Traeger, who got to the back end of the 01 car. Runs are coming from further back. Derbyshire gets a big run here on the 93 of Mashayevsky. So runs are materializing from further back. They're getting stronger, and drivers are lifting less. Our race leaders, there are 4 of them in this group that still have to pit. Make it 5 with Traeger, and Sheffield still has to pit wherever he is on the racetrack currently. And we have got ourselves a pack reformed. Chris Wilhite, the race leader now. Wilhite and Dorian first and second. Mashayevsky third. Watson fourth. Shaughnessy is trying to stay on the lead lap along with Jason Jackson, but that's not going to happen. If Wilhite can keep doing that work up top with his teammates, yeah, they're going to put more and more cars 1 lap down. They drop, and they leave Dorian up high. The 5 car left out to dry by his teammates of Wilhite and Shaughnessy, but they are controlling the race, and look at Wilhite shove the 9 car. I mean, he is really pushing Shaughnessy right now. 16 laps to go, and Shaughnessy needs it too. Being 12 points out, this actually puts him in 5th. I know being a lap down has a stigma to it. You don't want to be a lap down. You want to stay on the lead lap, but Shaughnessy is 5th, which means Jason Jackson's 6th. Think about the points they're going to grab. Jackson's still going to be a good ways out of the round of 8, but even though these guys are a lap down currently, they're in some pretty darn good positions. And once these 4 leaders in this group pit, everything is going to change. Single file we're going. When do the leaders pit? I mean, the pit window's been open for some 25 laps, 20 laps. 20 laps. Still single file. 15 laps to go at Talladega Super Speedway. Chris Wilhite leading. Watson second. Dorian third. Mashayevsky fourth. And cars are pitting. Sheffield is in. Kleinschmidt is in. These guys coming in to get service. Wilhite will stay out. When does the number 7 pit? And when well, of course, when he pits, I think he's going to bring the other 3 in. And here we go. Barisi now starting to sit back. Could we see these guys start to get racy for the lucky dog position? Or really just for these positions in general? I mean, you've got more positions a lap down in this group than you do on the lead lap. All the way back through Elliott, I think. No, Greasebomb in this group as they're really mixing it around back here. Elliott on the top side of Derbyshire. Greasebomb is going to come up to this group again. And here we go. Pitters everywhere. My goodness. In fact, 5 cars. Where are we getting 5 cars? Oh, Traeger. Yes, 4 leaders in Traeger. That makes sense. Headed down to the safety of pit lane. So this is the lap then with 14 to go. Wilhite, Watson, Traeger, Doran, and Mashayevsky. Mashayevsky first to the box. We'll watch these 4, though, in their boxes. Doran slides that right front a little bit, but that's okay. Got to the box lately. Less sides for the high side motorsport cars. No tires for Watson. No tires for Traeger. Sat in the box to the 5 car of Doran. Here comes Mashayevsky, and it's a drag race between your top 2 of the series. Watson and Wilhite trying to get back onto the banking. Watson's going to have the top spot, but is that where you want to be at Talladega? Sometimes it's hard to say. Cars racing back around. Can they get to these guys? The answer will be no. Jackson is going to be some 17 seconds back still. And these are your 2 leaders. This is your current race for the win at Talladega Superspeedway. Your 2 top drivers of the series are out front ahead of the rest. Does Wilhite throttle back? Does he try to bring his teammate up here? Or does he push the rival 01 and keep himself ahead of the rest? Meanwhile, look at this group. Shively came up on it with Whitford. Whitford has had an absolutely abysmal day. He's back here in the 14th spot, which 14th wouldn't be too bad in a field of 40. A 14th is not so good in a field of 17. Now, as far as that second group, Jackson, Levine, Shaughnessy, Watts, Barisi, Respawn, Elliott. This is the meat and potatoes of the field. They are some 14 seconds back of the race leaders. If we're going to get a caution, I think it's going to come from this bunch of cars. They're going to get racy soon. We've seen it with Jackson and Barisi. They've gotten aggressive at times, especially the 86 of Jackson. Now you've got Levine and Shaughnessy here. Watts as well. A whole smorgasbord of teammates all across the board. They are all on separate agendas. Do they need points in the playoffs? Are they trying to get team points for their team championships? Are they trying to help their teammates in the playoffs? What are they trying to do? Do they not care at all in the case of guys like... Greasebomb, there we go, who's not even in the playoffs. Same for Derbyshire, I believe. Do they really even care about the playoffs at all? Or are they just going to try and get whatever spots they can at the end of this race? Meanwhile, your top 4 grouped back together along with Traeger. Mashayevsky is separated from the top 3. It's Watson, Wilhite, Doran leading. 11 laps to go that time by as Watson and Wilhite fell back. And Watson is a sitting duck. If anything, he might want a caution just to have some numbers help him out here. He's got 2 teammates just behind. He knows what's going to come from these 2. Wilhite and Doran sitting right behind. That's not going to go well. And Wilhite really needs to put Doran ahead of him. He really needs to get the 5 car to win this evening. If these guys are going to race like this, if this is the game we've got for 10 more laps at Talladega, you've got to get that 5 car ahead of the 7. You've got to get that 5 car, that race win that he needs to lock in and not worry about the Roval next week. Watson goes up top, and he's going to drop back. He knows the situation. And this is going to change things up. This means those guys can't do that now. They've got to find some different way to work things out. But Watson now falls back in front of Shively and Whitford, and he's going to have to cling on to the back end of the 93 car of Mashayevsky. Watson actually coming back up. He's not done. He's trying to leapfrog the 93 car. Maybe get a second line going. I'm not really sure what he's trying to accomplish here. Whitford and Shively now side by side. Further back, Jackson and company, they are closing in. Now only 11 seconds back of the leader. 10 seconds back of Watson. There is a legitimate chance they could close in on our leaders. it's still a long shot. They're making up about a half second per lap. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But if they stay disciplined and keep gaining at some higher rates, it's a possibility, as they got all kinds of squirreling out to turn 3 that time. Levine on the back end of Jackson. That is getting more and more hairy by the push. That's going to make it 8 laps to go. One car up top. That is Kleinschmidt going a lap down. Watson, I think, trying to use him to get a draft. Watson knows he's on his own. He's trying to find something here. He's racing with Mashayevsky just ahead that I think is going to side with Wilhite and Doran, so he's not really too concerned right now. He's happy in third. He's just trying to gain some points here. And here we go. Grand opportunity for the 01 car to draft up alongside of the 5 car. Now, do we see any help from Whitford? Yes. Look in the mirror, top of the screen. Whitford in that red 44 just came up to help the 01 car, and we know how potent tandems have been. If Whitford can just get to the back end of the 01 and push him, this changes things again. That said, do you really want to go to the front right now? Or do you just want to be in position? I'd imagine the 01 of Watson's just trying to get a decent position on these guys as Traeger runs with him here, and Traeger, by the way, is still 1 lap down. And I'm surprised that Doran is still in the 2nd spot. He just lifted a ton through the corner. A big gap now ahead of the 7 car. Whoa, Doran nearly got in the 01 of Watson. 6 laps to go this time by. They're bobbling all around. I think Doran got shoved around by the 6. And lead change here for a moment. Watson got back ahead briefly. Back on board now with Doran in the 5 car. Loyally pushing his teammate of Wilhite, but Wilhite's got to win. I would think they'd want to shuffle things around here and get Doran the win. Get him locked in, not have to worry about Charlotte next week. Let's go back to standings briefly. Sure, he's got 17 points coming into today, grab some stage points. He should be safe, but why not get the win? That's going to be extra points to Doran's total. That means you've got a better chance of having 2 legitimate threats for the championship. If you can't get Shaughnessy his win tonight, get Doran his win. 5 laps to go at Talladega Super Speedway. And the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series is potentially coming down to these 5 laps and how important they might be. Watson, a big shove there from Whitford, and that got him a bit free through the corner. What is going to happen next? 1 car down inside. That is Mashayevsky getting passed up, or maybe trying to go past Traeger. No dice there for the 93 car. 7 cars in this lead group. 3 of them are a lap down. Meanwhile, 2nd group, they're closing in still. Jason Jackson now just 6 seconds back. I don't think they're closing in quickly enough, but some laps they gain about a 1.5 seconds. They might get there just in time to race for the win as Wilhite and Watson stay side by side out front. 4 laps to go at the biggest speedway of them all. Now 5 seconds back is Jackson. They just might close in. This is going to be spectacular. Think back to Atlanta. We had 2 groups come together, and it was absolute chaos in the last lap. It's a bit of a different story here at Talladega, but still going to be the same effect if these guys can just get there. Stay disciplined. Keep shoving one another. Don't get free, though. Don't get loose. Don't hook bumpers. It'll be 3 laps to go this time. And Watson got a big time shove there from Whitford. How much can he actually do up there, though, with the 44 and 85? They aren't teammates. Are they going to help the 01, or are they going to take into their own when it comes down to the end of this race? Now 4 seconds back is that 2nd group, closing in. 3.9. 3.8. These leaders continue to run slow as they run side by side. And now Doran giving a shove to the 7. Watson falling back. The 44 falls back. And the 85 goes to the inside. Shively doesn't care about the 01's race. He's doing his own thing. He wants to get spots. Whitford goes down to the inside and leaves the 01 hanging. Single file now, aside from the 01 car. And Chris Wilhite leads them all. There you can see that second group in the distance. They have closed in. Now just 3.5 seconds back. They are nearly there. 2 laps to go at Talladega Superspeedway. I don't think they're quite going to get there, but they have a chance. 2 laps to go at Talladega. Watson outside. He's still trying to find something as he's dragging the 93 back of Maciejewski. And teammates are getting allowed to just run away out front. What's Traeger going to do? Is he going to sit in behind? I think so. Maciejewski down low at the 85. What a weird scenario here. Watson couldn't buy enough help right now. It's just not working for him. They get back single file. Maciejewski a run here on Traeger. And this time by, it's going to be white flag. That second group, 2 seconds back. They might just sniff the draft on this last lap and be able to close in. It's going to be close. White flag in the air, presented by Whiplash Simcams. Final time around here at Talladega. Just 1 caution on the day. It's been some weird race, that's for sure. Can Doran get the win? Is Wilhite going to stay selfish? Can he help his teammate out here at the end? Can that second group close in? Jackson now just a 1.5 seconds back of the nearest car ahead. They might sniff the draft and play spoiler, but they're so far back I don't think they will. Now, turns 3 and 4 for the race win. Luke Doran needs points, needs a win. Is he going to just sit idle and push his teammate to it here at Talladega? The answer, unbelievably, is yes, and Doran is going to just take the points and give his teammate a second win in a row. Chris Wilhite wins at Talladega Superspeedway. Now, I don't mean to get too critical, but I am shocked the 5 did not go to victory lane. I don't know if they were just worried about risking the win for the team. I don't know if they're just trying to add on more points here for Wilhite. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But hey, it's another win for Chris Wilhite. The strongest driver in this series right now, setting up for a championship run. The thing is, you don't take these points into the championship round. The playoff points you accrue through the season and through the playoffs especially do not transfer to the championship race at Phoenix. I'll keep saying it. That should have been a grand opportunity for the 5 car, but they must have some agenda they were trying to play, and I'm oh so curious to hear it in the interview with Chris Wilhite and Luke Doran. But Chris Wilhite, a big win at Talladega, padding that number. 30 laps led at Talladega Superspeedway out of 85. That is a large number. I'm sure he's happy with that, and everybody doing burnouts here on the front stretch. Maciejewski joining him, I think just happy to have a good day as Maciejewski in the 93. We'll be talking to him, I think, for the first time all season long. We'll take a look back at your unofficial race results after 85 laps of racing at Talladega Superspeedway. Coming home first, Chris Wilhite in the number 7. Luke Doran goes second. And I am oh so curious to hear all about that finish from those drivers. Now, I do just want to check in. I'm just making sure that we should get driver interviews here. Yes, Wilhite jumps over. Okay, we will be talking to these guys, but Wilhite takes the win, Doran second, Maciejewski third. And I wonder if they were listening into the broadcast, because I'm just curious. I really am. They must have had some agenda they were trying to play. But Watson goes fourth, Jackson goes fifth. They couldn't quite get there. It was close. One more lap and they might have had just enough draft. Levine ends up 6th, Shaughnessy 7th, Watson the 8th spot, Barisi and Greasepalm round out your top 10. The rest of the field looks like this. Elliott on the lead lap, Traeger 1 lap down, Shively, Whitford, then Kleinschmidt, Derbyshire, Sheffield called it quits. Ends up 17th and may just be out of the playoffs. He's got one more week to get in though, as Brian Watson ends up 82 laps down, never had a chance to recover. We'll go back and get a talk with our top 3 drivers from Talladega Superspeedway. Like I said, I'm oh so curious to talk to this man, especially Chris Wilhite with the race win this evening. Obviously, any race win is special. How special is it to win here at Talladega?
Yeah, fun night, fun week. We've been really strong here all week in ISA Opens. Talladega's a blast. It can be frustrating at times, but I love it just because it kind of shows the teamwork and the strategy and kind of working together. So yeah, really great win. And anytime you get a playoff win as well, get more of those points, and got the stage win as well. Just awesome playoff points tonight for us.
A lot of playoff points, going to pad your total going into the round of 8. I'm curious though, and I theorized about this. We had plenty of laps while you guys were kind of figuring out that pit strategy and when you guys would want to come in and all of that with the lap cars all around. I'm very curious, was there the thought to get the 5 car the race win to lock him in, and why didn't the 5 car end up taking that?
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that. You know, we kind of talked coming into the night. We felt pretty good about me and Luke, just kind of where we sit. Lawrence was kind of the one that really could have used the win. Unfortunately, he kind of had some pit road issues, couldn't get up there. So yeah, no, that really wasn't discussion there at the end. We were just kind of push and getting a 1-2 and holding Watson off. But yeah, that cycle right before that last green flag pit stop, that got nutty. That got nutty with some guys pitted early, and then there were other lap cars, and we just had this big group of us. And there for a while, we were in the outside line, and we just finally had to get down and execute that pit stop well.
How difficult was it to maintain exactly what you guys wanted to do? You got 2-3 wide at times with random lap cars, it seemed. Some went low, some went high. Of course, you got Watson on his lonesome trying to beat you guys. I mean, that had to be, as you say, chaotic.
Yeah, there was just a lot, and everybody, once the pack got broken up there, which I'm not sure what, I imagine we had some sort of checkup or something like that early, or maybe even an almost wreck with no caution, and just sometimes when that happens here and you don't get that yellow, you can get a couple different packs going, and then when you hit that green flag pick cycle, that tends to exacerbate itself and get more packs. So you just had different strategies, and everybody's just trying to do their own thing, to do what's best for them. Which is fine, which does make it very chaotic when the leaders get in that pack. But you know what? Everybody, I felt like everybody was making clean moves, good moves. Nobody did something stupid like jump up in front of a car that had a huge run. So it ended up working out.
Well, Chris, congratulations. I won't lie, last several laps, I was confused as to why Luke Doran didn't win, but you know what? You guys played it for yourselves, and hey, you got the race win. So I'm the one that's silly up here. You guys hold the steering wheels, and you're amassing a ton of points here for the round of 8. Congratulations, Chris. I can't wait to see how things go here as we get closer and closer to that championship race.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Appreciate what you guys do. Quick shout out to Highside Motorsports, Bumper Thumper Traction Car Pound, RTD Race Tools, and Ryko Motorsports.
Chris Wilhite to victory lane. His teammate Luke Doran has to settle for second place, and we have not talked much to driver 5 this season, if at all. Luke, second place tonight, right behind your teammate. Secretly, how much did you want to pass Chris there on the last lap?
I wanted to really bad, but I wanted to make sure that a high side car won the race. And you know, with these cars, when you pull out, it's just like a parachute. So if I didn't have anybody going with me to give me a run, I just would have killed both our runs, and you never know what would have happened then.
And you know, you watch the NASCAR Cup Series on Sunday afternoons, then you watch you guys in the evening, and it's two very different pictures. The guys that race for their lives pretty much, they race for themselves. They wouldn't have that kind of teamwork to that kind of a level at a place like Talladega, but you guys certainly preach the team mentality here at Highside Motorsport, and it seems like this league in general has a really large, really conceited effort to win the team championship, almost more so than the driver championship. Why is that?
I'm not sure. I think I jumped in the second season, and I was brought on to help Highside. So I never really, in any other league or in an official race, I would have definitely tried more to win the race. But yeah, with this league, the team championship is everything, and the drivers championship is, at the end, it's like, oh, congratulations, you're the drivers championship. But the whole year the focus is on that team championship.
Well, you guys are certainly setting up for one heck of a run for that drivers championship. In fact, going and look, I'm gonna have to start making graphics of the team championship, because it seems like you guys focus on that so much more. Coming into tonight, you guys had 580 points. I'm sure it's gonna be over 600 now heading into the Roval next week. Luke, congratulations, a job well done. You guys had your agenda, you got it done. Can't wait to see how the rest of the season goes.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody at Highside and Ryko for hooking us up with fast cars every week. Absolutely.
The fastest in this league for sure. Car number 5, not quite to victory lane. I'm sure he would virtually go congratulate his teammate, Chris Wilhite, for the race win, but good to talk to Luke, I think for the first time all season, just like this guy, Brandon Mashayevsky, coming home 3rd place. And Brandon, you and Joshua Watson were in that lead group, both alone, both on your lonesome, but both in very different scenarios. Watson's pretty well in. You're trying to race to make sure you get into the next round of the playoffs. What was the mindset like? Take us through that last run. Well, Brandon is muted in Discord. I hope he wasn't just talking over a mute button. I think he was. Yep.
Hey, there we go. Sorry, I heard everything. But yeah, so the mentality was just bring the car home with all 5 wheels on it, including the one in my hand. And, we wanted to make sure the fenders and everything were good and have a shot for some good points. There was a chance there that we could have tried to jump out, but I wasn't so sure that Josh would go with me and give me the push. He probably would have just went right around me. So we just kind of stayed in and helped the HMS guys. They had me riding on board in place of Alan tonight, so just trying to help them out as best I could.
Certainly, it worked out really nicely, but how about this driver championship, the playoff points? Of course, you're certainly going to be a little bit higher. You're going to pass Alan Wilson, I'm sure, right? I mean, you're going to be in a pretty good spot for the Roval. Do you feel safe or not?
I think we got to just have another solid points race going into the Roval. There's a potential, I feel really good at the road courses that we might be up there again fighting in the top 3. I know a few of the guys are pretty quick on the Roval as well, so we're going to try to show what we can out there and hopefully solidify ourselves in the round of 8. The last race we had, just kind of get good points at Texas, get good points here, stay out of trouble, make sure we just keep ourselves up there in the top 8.
That's all you can ask for, right? Just keep getting through these rounds. But how chaotic was it for a little bit when you had everybody on different strategies, that kind of lap 50 to lap 70 area, everybody doing different things, different groups of drivers getting lapped and joining up and making that group big and really getting chaotic there. What was it like from your point of view with no help in that group?
It was a little frustrating every time we'd come up on like 1 or 2 lap cars and they'd get up to speed and we were like the 7th, 8th car in line and we just kind of get shuffled out. But we just kind of kept our mind on the bigger picture. Talladega, anything can happen. We had a chance that we could have been up there for the win, but we just wanted to make sure to bring it home safe and take as many points as we could. I know we got, I think, 4th place at the stage and brought it home P3. So the more points we can add, the safer we'll be going into the next race next week.
Well, good night for sure. We're next back with you guys at Martinsville late in the round of 8. The cutoff race. It'll be a 2-week spread between Martinsville and Phoenix, 2 weeks in a row. Can't wait to see you there. Hopefully, you're in the round of 8 contending for that championship as well at Phoenix.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hopefully, we can keep the fenders on it and everything. Keep the Swift Wall Ford going forward.
Absolutely, a beautiful looking number 93 there. You know what? I've never heard keep all 5 wheels on it. I like that. Brandon, if you come back and listen, I really do like that. I've never heard keep all 5 wheels on it, but that was a good one for sure there from Brendan Mashayevsky. One more time, let's take a look at what's upcoming here at Pit Stop TV. The next few broadcasts on the channel, they're pretty spread out. We have a pretty slow week after we go racing tomorrow night in round number 4 of the SimLab Production Car Challenge. We begin week number 4 at Silverstone Circuit. We're wrapping up week 3 actually tonight and tomorrow at Okayama International Circuit, a 2-week stay in Japan between Suzuka and Okayama. Then it's out to Silverstone. Then after a week, we come right back. After a slow week, we come right back to Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round 5, week 5, beginning on October 9th, that Monday evening, 9:30 Eastern split, before we go racing again with the UFL Elite Series at Richmond Raceway for their first round of their playoffs. Only 4 races in their playoffs. They're going to be wrapping up in the beginning of November, right about the same time here as the Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series. 2 really cool playoffs happening alongside each other. We've got Gen 4 Cup cars headed to Richmond on Wednesday night at 9 Eastern. That is October 11th. Still a little ways out, a little more time to prep. An off week this week on October 4th. Make sure to follow along at Pit Stop TV. All the bottom links there that you could possibly ask for. Plenty of places to follow along. And a big thank you for tuning in. A big thank you to our partners here with the series. Of course, a big thank you, a big shout out to Buttkicker. Feel what you've been missing, and our partners alongside Whiplash Simcams, ATVO, CC's Business, and the whole fold of them. We'll see y'all next time. A big thank you to the partners down low on the screen in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Simcams, OBS, and iRacing.com. For all of us here at Pit Stop TV, one more time, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time for this Shake and Bake Racing Buttkicker Cup Series at Martinsville. Otherwise, join us tomorrow night at Silverstone Circuit with Production Car Challenge action.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesome sponsors, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. As a member, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new Fanatec H-pattern shifter. Every point you earn on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 3350 today.